the peace that Jesus has to offer has nothing to do with how things are going. We tend to blame our tensions and our stress on the latest crisis around us. You know, the word crisis is defined as a point which determines a decision, which ultimately determines a future. And if we have to eliminate crisis to get peace, then we are doomed to be slaves to stress. You know, peace is not the absence of war like darkness is the absence of light. Peace is not refraining from hitting your neighbor when his dog digs a hole on your lawn. Peace is not avoiding a fight with your spouse by avoiding the hot topic. Peace is not found in the stillness of a mountain meadow or the steam of a warm bath or, you know, the waves. No, peace is only found in Jesus. Philippians 4:7, the Apostle Paul, who was a disciple of Jesus, he said this, or one of his followers, he said this, if you do this, you will experience God's peace, which is far more wonderful than the human mind can understand. His peace will guard your hearts and minds as you live in Christ Jesus. That word guard is actually, when he says guard your hearts, it means, it's a military term. It means his peace is going to stand guard over your heart and your mind. So when I look at that verse, the beginning of that verse says, if you do this, if I do what? Right? So then I looked. In verses 4 and 6, it gives me 3 things that I have to do if I want that peace to guard my heart. One it says is I have to be cheerful with joyous celebration in every season of life. Right in the midst of hard seasons, and I've had a few. You know, if you've been on this journey with me, you've been on some with me too. Yay, that's what friends are for. But I've had to choose joy. And you've heard me say joy is not a feeling, joy is a decision. And you've heard me talk about the confetti that I travel with almost everywhere. And so for me, I don't know why you don't. See, but if we're going to have the peace that guards every understanding, then we need to just have this with us. Because if your boat is sinking, hallelujah. If you're in the middle of a financial crisis, I'm choosing joy anyway. Right? There's just something about confetti. Choose joy. Be cheerful with joyous celebration. And then the next thing it says we have to do is if we want that peace that guards our heart, we have to pray. And that means tell God everything. It means quit whining to everyone else. And instead talk to God. You know, just the other day, I was just feeling the weight of a few things, and I was overwhelmed. And I remember being in my car, and I was trying not to cry. You ever had those moments, you know? And I was just trying to figure out who I could call to just talk through this with. Because I'm a people person. And I felt the Spirit of God say to me, why don't you cry to me? And see, when Paul is talking about praying, when he's talking in that context, he's talking about pray with devotion. Let me just think of some of the things that you're devoted to. You know, your family, your job, baseball, football, your favorite TV show. My mom is a serious football fan, and she's a Dallas Cowboy fan. And oh my gosh, you're in here too. She would love you. 81 years old, and when the Cowboys are on television, she's yelling at the refs, she's throwing things, she's a fan, right? And then there are, you know, some fans who would camp outside the ticket gate so they can be the first one to get tickets for their concert, or they, you know, camp outside department stores on Black Friday so they can get the deals, or maybe to be the first ones to see a movie. I've actually only ever done that one time. And it was in 1980, before some of you were born, so shut up. But in 1980, I was determined to be one of the first ones to see Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. So devoted. And then later, when, you know, the prequels came out, I took, you know, my son Jordan, and he was just a young boy, and we purchased all of those Star Wars little figures, and I was just as into them as him. And I've seen the latest Star Wars movies numerous times. I'm a devoted fan. Well, see, Paul is saying, actually, that's the kind of attitude you have to have when it comes to prayer. See, maybe you grew up in a home where you didn't pray, or maybe it was just more of a struggle, or you didn't know what to say, or maybe when you pray, you just find yourself getting distracted. You know, we're busy, we're moving fast, and so it's difficult to find the time, or maybe you just find your mind wandering. Or maybe you're a little cynical, a little suspicious about prayer, because maybe you prayed for something for a long time and you didn't get the answer you wanted, and so you're just left thinking, God, Why didn't you do something about that? And I imagine everyone in this room has a that they prayed for. Some of you are still waiting for that. Some of you are dealing with that. Some of you are sitting next to that. And maybe some of you are wondering if God actually really cares, if he's listening. But you know what? If you look through the Bible, you'll notice that it's almost entirely a book of prayers from Adam and Eve in the beginning talking to God. The Bible is full of men and women who were devoted to talking to God, and he answered them. Moses cried out to God, and then God spared Israel from judgment. Joshua's prayer made the sun stand still. All right now, how many of you wish you could just make the day last a little longer? And then Solomon got wisdom in his answer to prayer, and Jonah's prayer brought him out of the belly of a whale, and then 10 lepers prayed and were instantly healed. And when I look through the book of Psalms, I love the book of Psalms. It's almost all a book of prayer. And David, who wrote most of them, he is so honest before God. There's none of this religious trying to pretend. He's saying things like, help me. Listen to me. Don't be mad at me, God. Where are you? David went boldly to his God, and we have the same ability to do that. Be real with God. Do you know, if you look at the life of Jesus, the one thing Jesus did more than anything is he prayed. He's perfect, Son of God, perfect. And he prayed. So I'm thinking, you know what? Maybe we should too. But even when the crowds would gather around him, even when life got busy, he took time to pray. Why? Because he knew it mattered. Which is why I think the disciples wanted to be students of prayer more than anything else. See, the disciples came to Jesus and said, teach us to pray. Do you know that in all of the Gospels, those are the books in the New Testament written about Jesus, there's only one recorded request of the disciples asking Jesus to teach them anything. And it's teach us to pray. Now think about that. They'd seen him preach. They'd seen him raise the dead. They'd seen him heal people. They'd seen him walk on water. But the one thing they said, teach us to do, was teach us to pray. Because maybe that's where they realized his power and his peace came from, and they wanted that. Okay, so if we want that peace that actually stands guard over our hearts, we have to throw confetti, right? Be cheerful, joyous celebration. We have to pray. We have to be devoted to talking to God. It's not a religious ritual, it's a conversation. And then the third thing is, have to be grateful. Everyone wants to be grateful. Who wants to be ungrateful? But the question is, what's your plan? What's your plan to become a more grateful person? How are you going to do that? Right? Because nobody just drifts into gratitude. We have this problem when it comes to gratitude. We say thank you when someone does something for us, or when we're given a gift, we say thank you, and we should. But if we start to think that we'll be grateful to the extent that we receive things, or the more good things we have, the more grateful we'll become, then gratitude becomes a product of our circumstances. And gratitude is always a decision of the heart. So I don't know what could help you be more grateful. Maybe it's maintaining a gratitude journal. I'm a terrible journaler. I get one every January, and I last about 5 days, and then we're done. But some people are great at it, and it's probably a really good thing. My journals just become then where I take notes on Sundays, which is fine. So I don't know, for you, maybe it's, I don't know what could help you begin this journey, but for me, one of the things I do is before my feet hit the floor in the morning, I think of one thing I'm grateful for to start my day. Just one. Just think of one thing. And then actually, in our house, we have this jar. And a few years ago, we went through a really hard season. My father passed away suddenly, and I've told some of you this, and then our identity got stolen, and then our savings account got stolen, and we never actually got that back. And so I'm grieving a couple of those losses and just navigating that. And then Philip gets diagnosed with cancer, and and then he gets shingles, and it's really horrible, painful, time. And then there's just some people challenges, people that I thought should have had my back end up stabbing me in the back. It was just painful, horrible time. So my husband, he's a real Christian. Every marriage should have one. So he's the one in our family. So he said, you know what? Here's this jar. And he put this empty jar in our kitchen, and he put all these little sticky notes next to it. He'd made them colorful, thinking that would inspire me. And he said, what we're going to do is every day we're going to come down and write one thing we're grateful for. Oh. See, I told you he's a Christian, right? And so I would come down the first day, and I'm telling you, I stared at that thing. I got nothing. I hate everybody. I hate everything. I got nothing. So then I took up, but I knew he was going to count. So I picked up that sticky pad, and I'm staring, and I'm like, coffee. Right? How many of you are grateful? Okay. Okay, so the next day I come down, coffee. And so for about 4 or 5 days, it was kind of all coffee, and then I looked up, oh, it's sunny. It's LA, it's always sunny, but sunshine, and then eventually it got to be, my health and my family and some friends, but that was a journey, and it was a decision. No grateful cloud descended. It was a decision, and that's when peace entered my heart. See, the Hebrew word that is often translated as peace is the word shalom, which means way more than just peace. It means wholeness. It means total well-being. It means safe, complete, secure. It means the webbing together of God, humans, and all creation in justice, fulfillment, and delight. It's a big word. When you say peace, that's what you mean. Right? Peace isn't something that you feel. It's actually something that I believe we're obligated to bring.
At TBN, our mission is to use every available means to reach as many individuals and families as possible with the life-changing gospel of Jesus Christ.
Thank you for helping make the gospel of grace go around the world.
Without you, we couldn't do it. God bless you.